Good afternoon.
What day of the week is it?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Can you hear the lawnmower?
I don't think anyone
At
can
least the
hear
lawn, actually, it's a good thing. The lawnmower is still going. The lawn man's working. Kids, we have a very special training for you today, teaching for you today, talk for you today on relationship challenges that you may or may not be experiencing. So I think I've read recently where people were saying, thank God that I'm single because I don't have to put up with anybody else's bull.
that. Oh,
And there's a lot
well,
of people
that's
that are,
sad.
yeah, there's a lot of people that are
Very
like, oh
sad.
my God, at least I don't have a homicide on my hands at the end of this.
Hmm.
But so this is for you. If you're feeling like, this is an option, or this
Well,
is an option. I mean, if you're feeling like all these different kind of feels,
that's normal.
certainly during a time like this, it is.
Well, meaning that you're
If you're feeling it
feeling
all the time,
that's a
you might
problem.
be in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
wrong relationship. Okay,
Indeed.
here's a little tip.
Yeah. And if right now, with all the stressors and so forth, you're feeling stuff coming up, well, that's why we're here.
Hey, let's talk about some of the things that may potentially be bothering and irritating you lately.
Breathing.
Breathing. Somebody's breathing could become really apparent, or chewing. I knew it was the end of my last relationship when my boyfriend at the time put a grape in his mouth and I wanted to kill him. I was
Hmm.
watching him chew his grape and I'm like, I'm going to murder you if I continue to hear you chew. And I thought, you
You
know
could
what?
actually hear the grape.
Listen to me. It was so bad I could have heard a muffin. You know what I mean? I was like, oh man, I got to end this thing. I'm out of this. I gotta
Huh.
get out of here. Aw, you're welcome. Thanks for your comments. Hello, say hello when you're here. So yeah, pet peeves will start to come out of the woodwork, and actually, that is a legitimate pet peeve of mine. Is people chewing? It's actually like noises in general.
Well, what was
It's
the
called
name of that?
misophonia. I mean, it's
Misophonia.
probably a made up thing, right? But do you have the same thing where somebody's like making noises really irritate you? I have friends. Um,
Like chewing
she'll
gum,
kill somebody.
popping.
Yeah, my friend Michelle will like cut a cut a bee. She's not down for that kind of thing. So pet peeves are coming out of the woodwork. What else,
Yeah.
Doogie? What else is happening in the world of relationship
Well,
challenges?
I was guilty of it the other day.
What
I don't
happened?
remember.
Tell the
Remember,
people. No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
other than conscious communication, I rolled my
Oh,
eyes.
Doug rolled his eyes at
and I don't
me.
usually do that.
He never really does. So the nonverbal
Yeah.
communication, right? You
Yeah.
did.
I
And
don't
I
know what
and
were
I
we
said to
talking
you,
about.
I said, did you
Did you just roll your
did
eyes
you
at
just
me?
roll your eyes at
And
me?
I said, no.
And then you were like, no, my eye was itchy and I
I
had to
didn't
get it up
say
to the
that.
back of my head
I didn't
so I could
say
scratch
that.
my eyeball
No,
properly.
no, and I did. I recognized it, and I came and I apologized for it.
You
That
did.
was,
You were like, you know what? I did roll my eyes.
yeah,
Yeah. So we're
yeah.
gonna talk
So
about
stop
some of
making
the.
me roll my eyes, is what I said, right? Because it was your fault.
We're gonna talk about some of the things, the challenges that are having. Chime in with your very own, and then we're gonna talk about our three master keys. And listen, Doug and I have been together for 10 years. All right, we've been married for 5. We were engaged for 4, just to make sure. And five,
Well, we
engaged for
tested
5.
different foods to make sure my chewing didn't.
We wanted to make sure. Hey,
Okay.
hey, look, when you
Hey,
get
how do you do
older,
with chips?
here's the
Okay.
problem. When you're younger and you're dating, you're like, oh, I need to lock this person down. That used to be the old dating advice. When you first started meeting somebody, they're like, hey, look, if they're not getting serious within 90 days, you need to move on. It's like, honey, I don't even know you after 2 years. So as you get
Mm.
older, you stop trying to lock people into things before you actually know if you want them there, and you let things unfold.
That sounds like a television show known as The Bachelor.
Yeah, hey, if you don't know if you want to marry me by the end of this 6-week process, we're
With,
over.
with
We're
sorting me
done.
out for like 3 days, you actually chose me. Actually, before I
3 dates.
ask
If you don't
to,
know after 3 dates,
yeah, and I basically it boils down to 2 people, 2 or 3 people. Today, I'm going to decide whether or not I'm going to ask you to marry me
Yeah.
because I just gave up on the other one.
yeah. Listen, hey, I love that show. Anyway,
Well, it's
and
definitely a
in real life, though,
it
there are
shows
books.
pressure.
Like
Yeah.
there are books about how to catch them and keep them in 90 days, how to get them to marry you. And it's like, honey, what's the rush, right? But so we've been together for 10 years, and I'm not an easy person. You might have guessed that by now. It's not easy to be with me.
I just rolled my eyes. That
Did
was
you?
funny.
Listen, guys, a little bit of a challenging interesting. Luckily for me, my husband likes challenge and he's stimulated by complexity. Now, not everybody is. Some people like things very easy and simple, but he likes
Some
a
people
riddle.
like roller coasters.
He likes a puzzle.
Yep.
And,
Some people like merry-go-rounds.
and he straps in, baby, and goes for the ride. Okay.
Oh, is now the time for me to roll my
No,
eyes
no,
again?
no. So
Okay.
having said that, because for us to be together, right? And you're actually easy to be with. You're easy to be with, and I'm, you make it really. You're just very easy to be with.
Well,
And that's good because I need somebody easy to be with because of my complexity.
well,
But if
sometimes, yeah, if you like Heidi and I are both very strong personalities in different ways. We
Yeah.
don't we stand our ground in different.
Can I tell you something? When you're quarantined in your home, it's time to bring out the good cups from Pier 1. Just so you can feel a little bit better about your life.
Raise your pinky
It's
as
time
you-
to
as you
bring
have
out
your
the good Pier
coffee,
1
iced
cups.
coffee.
And just in case you have one, get it out. Now's the time, people.
Well, this is true. Now's the time to
Break out the
get
break out the
present.
china,
To
but then
yeah.
I was like, that's probably a bad joke.
Too soon.
Too soon?
Break out the fine china.
Hey, so listen, what other challenges are coming up?
Well,
Brown chicken, brown.
Yeah.
Brown
So
chicken,
what?
brown time.
That's
In
tough too,
multiple
just when you're
ways.
under stress too. Like, so everyone's under stress. It's can be a stress reliever, yet at the same time, to just create the environment with all this stuff going on, it's hard to sometimes, no pun intended, get into like the mood. Too soon?
I don't know. I
That
was
was funny.
so yeah, like feeling in the mood, right? Under duress. Some people that's how they relieve stress. They're like, I don't really care. And then the other person is like, that's not how I relieve stress. That adds to my stress.
Yeah.
And if you're a mom with children home and the husband wants to relieve stress and that's his method, but you just feel like there's one more person that wants you or one more person that wants to touch you or be with you in any way, shape, or form. It's like when a new mom is nursing and the husband goes in, you're like, get off. Don't touch her. These are mine for an hour. Okay? I don't want.
Craig
Get away from
Shoemaker
me.
had the whole. He had a whole thing about that. Remember his when his baby was born, and he's like,
Oh,
and
he's like getting more action than
yeah,
he was.
and yeah, the baby knew how to sign language
Like-
for more.
Listen, but you can feel like that as a woman if you're feeling depleted energetically from everybody wanting something from you. Sex can actually become, if you're not in your pleasure center, one thing that somebody else just wants from you. By the way, this probably isn't for your kids. If you have them home and they're 8 and 7, send them to their room, put the iPad on, put the earmuffs on, and come
Well,
back because you need
We're not
this.
getting that.
Well, look, I'm not. We don't do kids shows. Okay, there's plenty
Right.
of things that are on here.
But yeah, so the other thing is creating that environment and that space and what time that is, and then
Your
that
appetites
you're
are
good.
different. Timing is different. Having the ability to be alone is different. And actually just and performance.
Well, and you can hear right now,
Yeah,
Ellie's screaming
she's
right now.
screaming.
Can you imagine? This is
Listen, it's like, man. Well,
Yeah.
let's see how loud it'll get. Oh, it sounds
oh
intense.
yeah, she's probably needs some water.
What's up, sweetheart?
So you could see how this might be disruptive to the time that may require some privacy and attention can kind of take the energy right out. So in these situations, it's that understanding and that compassion for each other. What does she want?
Her mac and cheese got cold, Dad. It was
Ah.
a 911.
So it
was a
the
911,
world
guys.
stops
The
for
world ended.
for that.
All right,
Indeed.
what do we talk about? Space can become an issue. Just
Yeah.
actually having your own place to go and be alone.
Yeah,
if
not every,
that's-
and well,
if-
here's
if
the thing
that's what
too.
you're
Like we're
into.
blessed, we have a decent sized home. And,
More than 2 rooms, so thank
Yeah.
God for that.
Right, but some people may have I have friends. We have friends in New York, and they're in
They're in
Manhattan.
600
who get-
square feet.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily the most conducive to private space.
When we were
and-
traveling on the road, when we first met each other, we did a deep dive into our relationship. We were
Yeah.
like, all right, let's see if this thing will work. I had just kind of lost everything. All right, I'd lost all my stuff in LA and moved back to Pennsylvania, West Virginia. And you were like, yeah, why don't you come on the road with me? And I'm working for Tony Robbins, and we're just going on the road. And I was like, all right. I was just working from home anyway. I was coaching and had a couple clients, So We
Yep.
in
Sometimes
Chicago, we had
we
little,
got a new place because that was so tiny.
holy
It was
bananas,
like
man.
400 square feet.
When we first got to know each other, we were locked into these close quarters. And to make matters worse, I had, when we first started dating, right in it, after about a year together, is when I decided to quit drinking. So then it was like, let me really get to know this person. Let me
Mm.
really, and he was like, oh, this is different.
Well,
In
and
good ways and in
yeah. Well, so
bad,
here's
you
what's
know.
great, and we look at opportunities like right now. This is a great if you get really present to deciding that you want to get to know each other and you want to really dig deep into a relationship. This is going to be the
Oh
time to
yeah,
do so.
this is a great time to do that. So like we said, we've had all these issues,
Hmm.
especially in the beginning of our relationship when things were really turbulent because, I was still a cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in many respects. And I, had to, once I quit all the vices, right? Once, because I didn't really know how to speak my truth without having a couple glasses of wine and then the things would be fun. And if you're in that situation with somebody who's actually medicating and then they're speaking their truth, oh my god, like it's a recipe for disaster. So we're getting healthy isn't one of the requirements, but if you're we're gonna talk about today,
Right.
but it's the baseline no brainer.
The
Okay,
assumption is that you're
you can't do any of
yeah
this if you don't have access to somebody's right mind. So if
yeah
somebody is actually under the influence of any kind or checked out or dealing with other things, we have other videos for that. People that are dealing with people that are narcissistic or have personality disorders. That's what my jam. Go to YouTube and check those videos out. But we're going to assume that you're healthy today, okay, for the most part. And the tips that we're going to give you are going to reflect that.
hmm
So the very first thing that I think that changed our relationship and really saved our lives as far as being together, okay, being in this together, is our for number one key.
right is assuming the best of the person.
And this is really hard to do when somebody's acting a fool. All right, when somebody's acting a fool, and you're like, and it's like you could see it. You're like, man, they don't know what they're doing. You get in a righteous position, a self-righteous
Yeah.
position, and you can see it. You have to stop everything and go, you know what? I bet. What if what they were doing, they weren't doing to me on purpose? And that's the key here is to say your partner is being short with you. Your partner is being curt. They're getting annoyed. They're turning you down for sex. They're doing all these things. What if the step one in assume the best is if you're going to assume the best about somebody, you have to depersonalize their behavior and take yourself out of it. It ain't about you.
Right.
Other people's behavior has very little to do with you. Now, they'll make you think it is because they'll project it onto you. Well,
And
you're
they'll even
making
tell
me act
you.
crazy.
Yeah, even say it.
You're
This
the
is your
asshole.
fault.
You're the one doing it. No, you're not. Okay?
Well,
You're triggering them, but they're
yeah,
the one feeling their feelings. Okay?
that's the delicate balance, right? Because
You
there
want to take
is
responsibility
personal
if you are.
responsibility,
Yeah, sure.
but if you're responsible for taking personal responsibility and you both are doing that and assuming the best about each other, that then sort of mitigates the personalization of it. Then it becomes more of okay, these are just strategies, right? That's really all this is that
Sex is a really good one. Okay, sex is a really good example because right now, intimacy and sex is one of the main areas that tension and relationship issues show up. If there's money worries, it shows up in the bedroom. If there's stress, it shows up in the bedroom. So we're just going to use that as an example. Let's say that we're under stress. It's a stretch. And Doug wants to relieve stress by coming to the relationship for intimacy because that's his way of relieving stress, right? Let's just pretend he comes to the relationship, it's already vulnerable anyway, because all men are 13-year-old boys. Women, the sooner we understand that, the better off we'll be, and we'll treat them not like a 13-year-old doesn't know any better, but their heart is like a 13-year-old boy that deserves that kind of.
men, women are 13-year-old girls.
Okay,
Let's be fair.
not really. We
You're
mature
12.
a lot faster. Okay, so let's say that
Really?
he comes. Yeah, it's true.
Mm.
Let's say we're not really, but you are. It's fine. Let's say that he comes.
Where
and
is
he
assuming
starts,
the best
he starts
coming?
doing yeah he starts doing his little business, okay, whatever it is, his little seduction tricks, and I go, oh man, and sometimes women can be really brutal with like, are you serious now, come on, like that kind of serious. Or we could
That's
try to
major
be even
rejection.
kinder about it and be like, oh, you know what, I'm just not, my head's not there right now, or whatever it is that we try to say. Either way, if he is in a position where he's not going to assume the best about me, he's going to take it personally and he's going to think, well, she's rejecting me. She's not, and he's going to make up a story. Okay. He's going to start making up a story about what all that stuff means instead of let me be with whatever it is that I'm feeling. If I'm turning him down or I'm doing whatever, that might be painful, sure. But what if it had nothing to do with him? What else could this mean? Is a question that'll change your marriage and change your relationship if you ask it right now. When you assume the best about somebody, the primary question you deploy is, what else could this mean? What else could it mean? She's just not in the damn mood.
And yeah, what is the
Now's not the
positive
time.
intent?
The positive intent is she doesn't want to get into it with you and pretend. She doesn't want to fake it, and or whatever it is. So let's assume the best.
Right. And that is a daily practice because our other than conscious, like Heidi shared, that
Yeah.
rejection can come up. And when we're under stress, it's even more visceral.
Absolutely.
It feels even more. So when we're under pressure, we're needing even more to feel like we're accomplishing something, that we're of value,
Even if
that
it's,
we're well, when
hey,
I don't mean accomplishing it
goal.
like that. I
No,
mean just
it's
a
true.
value
It's
to
true.
feel like, okay, I'm needed, I'm wanted, I'm
That's
important,
right.
and the challenge becomes if we're out of alignment.
Hmm.
It's not that women don't want to feel adored and loved and want that intimacy as well. If the alignment's not right, there's going to be an issue. The real challenges sometimes is that men are a little easier to get in the mood.
And they're a little clumsy when it comes to preparation. And look, that's a nighttime show. We can talk about that, right? Because it's important to have those kind of conversations. But there's an opening process, and the woman is responsible for opening, and the man is hopefully intuitive on how to allow for the opening. But at the end of the
which
day,
is hard to do when
when
you
everybody's
have all
shut
the other
down.
stuff. Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
all the pressures and all that. It's definitely
So assume the best. When somebody's even short with you or court with you or rolls their eyes at you, assume the best. And in that moment when I joked with myself, I said, "Did you just roll your eyes at me?" I could have done better by saying, "Okay, I got that he rolls that, like that's his stress. That has nothing to do with me." But the minute I take it personally, it's on. And so depersonalize people's behaviors right now as much as you possibly can. And actually that's one of the tenets that I teach in my work is this whole process of how to do that, because that thing alone will change and save your life.
well. And here's the challenge: when we're already stressed and frustrated, it's like everything is going to be potentially eye rolling, huffing, puffing,
Yes.
getting annoyed, raising voice, snapping,
Yeah.
all of that. So now more than ever, being aware and present is going to be the key.
And being aware and present. So the second thing, this is we each have our master key together, and then we have our personal keys. So there's 3 keys. So I just want to say on a side note, your children don't have this skill to assume the best about you. They can't. Like later on in life, they can when they get into therapy, and the therapist goes, "Did they do the best they could?" And you're like, "I guess so,"
Right.
But for now, they don't know. So you have to be on top of it.
Yes.
I'm gonna get into that in my key, okay? But what's your key? Let's talk about your key.
Well, whenever I find myself, and it's not just in relationships, is where it shows up the most, is
Mm-hmm.
if not feel like if something's coming up, if we're in a spirited debate or something is
That's what normal
starting
people
to,
call fight.
yeah. Well, and language is important, right? I mean, there's a difference if someone says, you're wrong versus
I
maybe we're
disagree.
mistaken or I disagree, I see it
We're
another
screwed
way.
versus this is interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, it's purposeful, so I don't charge up stuff because a spirited debate is it's still it has love. A fight, it sounds very
Yeah,
adversarial.
I like that.
Anyway, so I look at it, and if we're in a spirited debate, which doesn't happen a lot, and when it does, if I start feeling like angry or frustrated or whatever is going on, I step back. I go, well, wait a minute. Like, what do I want to feel right now? Like, what do I want? What is my outcome? Like, whatever position I'm taking, what's most important here? And why am I holding that position? Like, if I were right, then what would that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I go, well, then I'd be happy. All right, well, why don't I just go happy now? I want to feel love. Well, why don't I just give the love now and prime that pump with that? And rather than get sucked into that otherness that goes on, go, wait, but what I really want is the purpose of whatever I'm feeling right now is to get to some semblance of closeness, of connection, of love, of intimacy, of, even if I want it to be right because I have a different perspective, the reason why I want to be right is because I want her to be happy, or I want her to feel loved, or I want her to feel safe. So if what I'm doing is not getting to that outcome,
And that's
then I have
assuming the
to
best about him, by the way, because when you think your partner wants to be right, your major assumption is they want to be right because they're egotistical. They want to be right because they want to be in a power position. But his right might be he wants to be right because he wants peace and harmony back, right? And he wants me to see his position so we can align again. And that's the gift. That's the spiritual practice of seeing the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really good. Key 1, assume the best. Key 2, know your outcome. Key 3 is own your okay? Own your stuff. And it's very easy now more than ever to project all of our issues onto our partner. And you're doing it when you say things like, you make me feel, you're making me be this way, and it's all about, I wouldn't behave this way if you didn't. There's no personal responsibility. And now the only thing you have, and I have, and you have, is personal responsibility. And so we need to be hyper focused, right? Or at least more focused than we are normally on how we're showing up. And we used to joke around that your superpower
was hindsight.
Yes. Right? Like he's Captain Hindsight.
What
I should have done.
Yeah.
Now I see. And
oops.
Right? And that's okay, because maybe you don't catch yourself right away, but maybe you catch yourself after you've done it, and that's okay for now. Be able to come back in and go, man, I did roll my eyes. Hey, I was harsh just then, and you can come in and try to right that wrong. But some things.
That just made me think of something. Mm-hmm. The other day, Ellie and her friend were playing, mm-hmm. and Ellie did something. I don't know what it was, mm-hmm. but her friend kind of started, just shut down and started pouting or whatever. And in pretty short order, I was really amazed. She walks over and she goes, "I'm sorry." And basically apologized, took full ownership for it. Yeah. And was like, I'm sorry, let's do that instead, and whatever they changed. And fortunately, she didn't stay stuck in her thing. She's like, okay. And then just went on.
And that'll do that. And that's good, because we're modeling that for her. And she hears that a lot around here, hindsight being the superpower.
Yeah.
A lot, right? But we want to get better, and now's the time to sharpen our axe so that we're on the other side of this further along than when we started. And we can do that by having foresight. And that means know you're a ticking time bomb when you're a ticking time bomb. Feel it long before it starts to happen. So if you notice you're about to roll the eyes, or you're about to have the snap, or you're about to do whatever, try to catch it before and say, you know what, man, I'm not in a good headspace. I'm going to go chill for a few minutes before that thing happens. And how do you do that is you stop feeling like your partner is doing what they're doing to you, and you start taking responsibility for your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And so that is the ninja stuff. That's like Yoda mastery, being able to take responsibility. And especially when now we want somebody to blame more than ever.
Well, we've been conditioned into it.
Yeah, we have.
We've been conditioned into being victims.
And now we really want somebody to, like throw the book at, right? And our partner is the one. We'll make them wrong about anything just so we feel right and in control. When power and control gets taken, at its very worst, it becomes abusive and aggressive, right? But even for the healthiest people, when you feel like your power or control has been taken, you'll scramble to get it any way you can, including being self-righteous, being indignant, being, curt, short, rude, whatever. So pay attention to those things. Now.
Well, and that's where also, like, we all feel we want to be right. We want to feel like it's
heard. Right now, we want to feel heard, right?
Yeah.
So we'll do anything we can. Of course, there's a lot more keys, right? There's more keys, but I think that these 3 are the ones to really start the ball rolling. We want to hear from you guys. What are some of the issues that you're facing or challenges, and how are you coping and handling?
Yes, please.
And is this helpful for you?
Yeah, so here's the thing, by the way, as well. As we're talking, Heidi and I both have like our separate programs, which are 2 sides of the same coin. They're creating the ability to be fully responsible, to have love, honor, and respect for yourself, so that you can be even more present with other people. And everything we just shared goes beyond intimacy. It goes to, like, some of you may have some challenges with maybe other family members. Maybe you have a person in your life who's not necessarily approving of the way you're handling certain things right now, or maybe it's just someone like the whole thing. People getting mad at someone, like if you go to the beach right now, I've seen people going like, "Stay the f home, don't go to the beach." Well, if I'm staying 6 feet apart, if I'm doing social distancing, or what have you, that should be okay. Why are we getting so into what other people are doing? And that's part of it too, because in an intimate relationship, when I was sharing earlier, like if usually arguments happen when there's a value challenge, when someone does something that you disagree with, and you disagree with it because it violates your values. But if you backtrack and go, well, what's really going on? Why do I value that? What's most important? Then you can see it from that perspective and go, oh, okay, cool. I'm just wanting things to go smoothly. Is there another way that that can happen? So if that's with a brother, a sister, a friend, the an intimate relationship, the only difference between, well, not the only difference, but one of the biggest differences is you see each other naked.
Hopefully. Now, you remember that video of that girl in the backseat, that child that went viral, where she's trying to buckle her seatbelt, and the person is going, "Here, let me help you." She goes, "Worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. Worry about yourself." There's this little kid, the little kid saying, "Worry about yourself." That's now. That's now, because there's a lot of people in the world that are trying to tell other people how to buckle their seatbelts in dynamics. Like we just had a question about how do you deal with a difficult family member who doesn't see the same thing, who doesn't see eye to eye with you, who's on a different page than you. Now's not the time to try to get him on your train. Let him off the track.
It's just
time to just let them be wherever they are, because likely their defense mechanisms or whatever the thought process or belief system they've had up to this point, they're going to double down on in stress and duress. And now's not the time to change your mind. It's easier to change your mind in a less stressful time when you can actually have access and get in there and talk some sense. Right now, that you can't make sense out of nonsense. And so the other thing is, I just want to caveat here. When you're in a healthy relationship, you can assume the best about the person. You can be like, yeah, they're doing that because this is the strategy, and okay, we're going to assume the best. I'm still going to set a boundary around it. If you're in a relationship with a toxic person or a narcissistic person, or somebody who's under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or has issues that way, not assuming the best about them is what got you into trouble, and that's why you stayed too long. So what I want you to do is start thinking about your exit plan, okay? Because hopefully what you're recognizing now when you're quarantined with a person like this is life's too short or too long, however you want to frame it, to be stuck in that position. So assuming the best works in a healthy relationship, assuming the best doesn't work about somebody who's really sick, because that's why you keep staying and hanging on and hoping they'll change or get better, or rationalizing, minimizing, justifying, or whatever their behavior is, and that's unhealthy. Okay?
Yeah. So
I just want to give that caveat. All right, it's really important.
Well, and we'll just leave it on this as well, is that we need to be really careful about what continuing emotions, that when we get under this stress, what's going on, what are the emotions that keep coming up, and disrupt them, because what we don't want to do is become addicted to the anger, the frustration, the bitterness, the resignation, the victimhood, because it'll be very easy if we keep running these same patterns. And it starts out slowly, right? And this is why we want to have this conversation, so we notice it to do something about it. Because if we don't, a couple months from now, our new way of showing up could be bitter, angry, frustrated, and basically resigned to the fact that that's when we got to be careful about it. It is the way it is.
Well, especially if you're so nervous about what's going to happen on the outcome, right? And what we can start to do is put a lot of pressure on our partners. Like we get in that rescue fantasy, like you're supposed to be figuring this out, or are you going to get us out of this, or I'm going to, I don't know if I can get us out of this, so I'm feeling, and right now it's just a time to just be in it together and not have all that stress and pressure, and everybody's doing their part, everybody's contributing in whatever value they can bring to the relationship, and we're not coming, now's not the time to come to your relationship to take. Now's not the time to say, well, what are you bringing? What are you bringing? No, honey, let's all both add value, and then we multiply each other. Like, it's not about 50-50. That's keeping score. That's division. That's not going to strengthen your family unit, right? Or what can I get from you, or what are you doing? What have you done for me lately, is subtracting from somebody. So multiply. If you're both focused on adding value to each other, you're going to grow. You're going to multiply. That's math, Okay, that's basic math. So if you're both focused on adding value to each other and asking yourself every day, how can add value to my partner? How can I add value to their life? How can I love them even more? How can I assume the best about them? How can I own my shit? And how can I keep focused on the main prize? What I really want is love and connection. You're going to be in good shape. Hopefully, it's been helpful for you guys today.
Yep, if it
We
was
love you
great,
so much.
yeah, please share, let your friends know, and if there's anything that we could cover for you, please let us know.
We're going to read the
it's
comments and come back
yeah.
in and comment. So make sure you're communicating with us because I love to come back in and read these. Okay.
All right. We love you for
Love you
who you
guys.
are and who you aren't.
Bye.
Bye.